Yes, hello, welcome along once again to another edition of the Irish Rally Podcast, tonight in association with our good friends at treerock.ie and, of course, GRT Hire. Well, what a magnificent weekend it was down in Clonakilty and the surrounding areas for the West Cork Rally. I have to say, I was absolutely blown away with the buzz on Friday evening. It was great to get down and chat to some of the competitors and talk to a lot of fans and different people that you wouldn't have seen for a long time. 3 years since we were in West Cork or whatever for rally weekend, and by God, the place was absolutely thronged and it was buzzing the whole weekend. It was fantastic, and yeah, even though there was a lot of travelling done up and back or whatever, I think we're still very much on a high. So we have a nice program ahead of us this evening, to say the least. We have tasty guests. We'll be talking to the three-time British Rally champion Matt Edwards in a couple of moments' time. We'll also be chatting to Anthony O'Sullivan, who, of course, won the historics category in a beautiful Ford. Kevin O'Driscoll is going to be on with us. Unfortunately, James Stafford has been tied up in work, so we're not going to have a chat with him, but we are hoping to chat to his navigator, Tom Scanlon, who I know is trying to jump on the call as we speak. We will have a chat with James over the coming days separately to that, and we will get it out across our social channels, and we will put it up on Spotify and Apple and all those as well. So, yeah, that's where we are. Mr. Anthony Nestor, how are we doing?
Hello there. That was a good weekend, wasn't it?
Cracker. Absolute cracker. I really enjoyed it. I don't know about you.
The way that town adopts that rally is just magnificent. Like, it's we were interviewed with Sean Moriarty of the Kerry Motorsport News at the finish, and as I said, double-decker bus, champagne spraying from the bus, shut off the main street, a couple of thousand people down there. You wouldn't see it anywhere else. Like, it's amazing. The town really, really adopts. They really bring the rally to the people. The people, like, you see the people in the town there, even at the ceremonial start where I met you for the first time. But you see the people that, they wouldn't necessarily be on the stages out, and they wouldn't have that much of an interest, but they certainly, there was families out, and I see the very good sponsors of both the championship and the rally, Clonakilty Pudding. We were actually outside their door for the finish ramp, and they were cooking food and handing it out free of charge to everybody. And it was just a lovely atmosphere. As I said prior to the event, it's a special event in the calendar. Totally different characteristic, obviously, to the roads of Galway. Lots of grip, tyre wear a lot higher. Totally different setup on cars, as in, slightly lower, slightly stiffer, not as many bumps and jumps here as you would in some of the other events. And just overall a good event. I was just remarked to one of the people involved in the running of it, Greg, actually, who had difficulty logging on with us last week. How long is it since we saw car number 170 on the reserve getting called up 4 days prior to an event? It's unheard of, like. But yeah, lots and lots of positives this weekend. Lots of little bits and pieces as well. I know they had difficulties with the results, which is something obviously that's going to have to be addressed going forward. Probably one little disappointment, but I said it is really little, and I understand why they had to do it. I see the drivers' briefings are back for the competitors. I would be one of these people that would be very anti-drivers' briefing. I just don't see the point of it. Albeit I did speak to somebody about them, and I can understand why they have had to have them. They brought them back in Mayo, and there's a bit of difficulty in the short term until everyone gets used to this tracking system and what button to press if you have difficulty and so on and so forth. And the Motorsport Ireland find that if you have a driver's briefing and you brief people an hour before the event on how the operation of the tracking is to go in the event of it needing to be used, there's less problems throughout the day if people get the tuition or the training prior. I know there's an online video, but unfortunately, in my opinion, I don't think that video is getting watched as much as certainly as people would like them to watch it. So yeah, the driver's briefing may be with us for another little while. But again, it's only a little thing. Overall, great weekend. Loved it. Can't wait till next year. Mind you, I thought the trophy in Galway or in Cork every year you get a mug. And I've been getting little mugs back in West Cork since 1997, I think. I must look, they're on a shelf in the next room. And but the mug we got this time will be a collector's item in time. Our mug this year was dated 2020, which would make you smile, but it in time could be a great talking point when we were all old and in the nursing home. We'll say, well, how did you get an award for the rally that never ran? But again, it's a talking point. And of course, obviously, the logic behind it was that if we remember back to 2020, that rally, we were down wrecking on the Thursday and the rally was pulled. So obviously, they had all their awards, all their programs, all their decals, everything was used, everything was purchased, ready to go. So yeah, it's they'll make a collector's out of that little cup yet. But I think for some of us that are probably going there for a few years, it's nice to gather those cups anyway. I actually must give a shout out, and Kevin, I will speak to Kevin about this. I spoke to a man outside driver's briefing. We won't mention the fact that driver's briefing was going on at the time, but we were outside in the lobby area, and oh God, I'll be shocked because I can't think of his second name. But of the Cork, West Cork, I think was running for the last 42 years. And he's done 38 of them. That's some achievement. Jerry O'Mahony, I think. I know his surname is O'Mahony. I'll be shocked now for not remembering. I'm sure Kevin will enlighten us on it. But yeah, he done 38 of the last 42 events. That's some record. But I'll get Kevin to clarify there and I'll leave
He's backstage. Kevin, step up.
Yeah, step up is right. Hanging out, fix this. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 38 rallies out of 42. So some
Jerry, I know he's the dad to.
Yeah, Jerry's Jason and Jonathan's dad.
And Jonathan's dad, Jonathan, who would have sat with Owen there.
Yeah, Jerry's an absolute gentleman. It's great that he got him. He didn't do the 2019 event, but he's back out. He came back out this year now again, and I'm not actually sure if he finished or not, but I think he did actually. I haven't looked at the full list, but he was going strong on Sunday anyway.
Good stuff. Kev, in fairness, a lot of people are saying it's one of the best West Cork rallies, if not the best, that they have ever seen.
Yeah, I suppose from my own perspective, it is definitely the fastest I've seen. I mean, look, we've seen fast drivers in the past, where maybe you'd have one or two guys, pulling ahead of the field, having a great battle, but this year you'd have half a dozen of them at the very front, and that's not taken away from everybody else that was following behind. You know what I mean? Everyone right down the field, and I mean, I was there 5 of the 6 stages I saw. I got to see every single car. Everyone was doing the best they could, but the pace was just incredible. It was from start, from right, actually got quicker as it went on, and. Ardfield is a nice stage to start on. Very fast, very flowing. Hazel's Cross, not so easy. Sam's a very technical stage. Then on to Rossmore, something similar. And then, of course, you would ring on Sunday morning, and 2 long stages after that in Clogach and Ballinascarty, and every one is something different. And he went from tight and twisty, even as Anthony might have thought he was in the forestry, I'd say at some stage with the amount of dust that was being thrown up and in the ring and Clogach.
Yeah, ring was incredible actually. In fairness,
I was at the flying finish of ring, and the dust that was coming up there was just amazing to just like I said, like a forestry.
Jerry O'Mahony finished 58 overall on his 38 event. That's some going.
Yeah. Won't be too many around the country and do their own local event as many times. Maybe the only one that springs to mind that might have done a lot of events as well would be Nola Sullivan and Killarney on his own home local rally, I'd say.
Yes, he does.
They would probably be the only two I could think of that would have such a long running stint on their home rally.
Isn't it great to have such an interest? And he, as I said, we spoke probably for 15 minutes or so, and he was as enthusiastic as some of the junior lads going out. He could not wait to get going. He was just, really, really looking forward to it. Such enthusiasm. But of course, the family are all rally people.
Yeah, that all helps. I suppose it feeds into that as well. But it wouldn't be the same. Joey didn't do the 2019 event, but so it's 4 years since his last rally, which is probably understandable. And he was tearing to get back out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to bring in Mr. Matt Edwards. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. So Matt, I know you were around West Cork at the weekend. Unfortunately, maybe not in the context or guys that we would have hoped to have had you. So maybe your thoughts on West Cork first, before we delve into the other stuff.
Well, my first question is, can I not get one of those mugs as well? Because I did the recce in 19 as well.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, actually, as I said,
in 20, sorry, in 20.
We can't go into it live, but I'll have one organised for when we meet that on that date that we just discussed earlier.
Yeah.
I'll bring one for you. I'll get that organised. I'll get Kevin to get that organised after we will get it.
No, that's great. No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the stages, immensely in 19, and I remember being there in 20, looking forward to it. And I would have been in the Mark II Fiesta for the first time on tarmac that year. And obviously the route's the same as we recce'd then, so it was nice to do a few laps of them in a different capacity last weekend. But no, looked like great stages, and I've watched somebody on board of a lot of Marion Evans is on board during the event and since, and it looked like some challenge for sure.
Mm-hmm. Matt, I think in fairness, tires you're involved in, yeah?
Yeah.
What was the kind of feedback that the lads were looking for, and what kind of feedback were you given, I suppose?
To walk you through it, really, we arrived on the day of the recce. We did a full recce twice, 2 passes of everything to kind of familiarise ourselves with the terrain, where the surface might be changing, temperatures, and then we basically reported back to the Pirelli runners in modified front wheel drive and the main the R5 category, sort of summary of a report, if you like, not necessarily giving them a definitive choice, but an option of you could go this way or you could go that way, because it was quite temperature wise, it was on the borderline of two different Pirelli tires generally, depending on your driving style. You could go one way or the other. And then the morning of the rally, we do a very, very early run round, temperature check, and again feed that back, and just getting some feedback at the end of the stages, really, to see what they thought, that if they were on the right tire, the wrong tire, if so, why, and then temperatures to see if they were getting the target temperatures in the tire that they were on, and using that information to either stay put on the tire you're on or make a change. So it was interesting. I learned a lot, spending the time with Jonathan Wells there from Pirelli. Very busy man, but obviously values the business in Ireland and the Irish Tarmac Championship. So putting a big effort in to support those customers.
It was very well disseminated out to us as the competitors, because it was arriving so the information that you were feeding back to whomever, we were getting it via text and WhatsApp to our phones.
Yeah.
So it was, I thought it was just a nice idea. And the timing was quite good. You were actually in service when the notification arrived, or it was prior. It was similar to a gravel crew setup that,
basically
prior to making the decision, it arrived in your phone for you.
Yeah, we did plan it. It was.
No, you could know it had to be planned. With the timing of the information arrival, I says, "Here, this is very well done." I thought it was another touch that we hadn't seen before. It was another, I suppose. Look, you're trying to make an amateur sport professional, and it was just that little bit of professionalism brought back into it again.
Yeah, and again, tires is something a lot of people don't pay enough attention to, and it's something Absolutely. I learned very early on, that when you're on either a poor tire or the wrong tire, and that can take a massive amount of confidence out of any driver at any level.
Oh, absolutely, and it's your only point of contact with the road, of course. Remember, it's so it's very important indeed.
So no, it was good. I'm glad to hear your feedback as well, as somebody involved. So no, that's good.
Matt, I think it's fair to say you're a jack of all trades. So as well as winning the BRC 3 times in a row, you have helped out a lot of competitors. You do a bit of coaching and stuff. You were in Mayo very recently, so maybe talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, the coaching is my main business, my main income, really, self-employed basis, obviously, and I am admittedly quite selective about who benefits from that service that was offered to Jason in Mayo. It kind of becomes the outcome of a longer term relationship, if you like. It's not something that I would just jump in and do straight away. because the idea of it is to effectively co-drive and coach at the same time, which you need a relationship and an understanding with the driver to be able to do that. So I'd done a few tests with Jason, spent a lot of time talking on the phone. There was a very clear MO about what we were going to do on the day, and the repeated stages lent itself to that, with 2 stages repeated 3-4 times. So it was an easier event to do that on, and it's something I've done a few quite a few times in the past, different drivers, different events. But I find that if you get that relationship working, it can be beneficial, because the driver gets the feedback live as it happens, because I will sometimes sacrifice the notes at that time at a safe place, obviously, to give live feedback. That was too fast in, too slow in, wrong gear, this, that, and the other. And then they relate that feedback to an exact moment in time, rather than getting to the end of the stage and remember that left-hander that tightened, or you're in the wrong gear. The moment's gone then, and it's difficult to go back to it. Obviously a lot of people run in cars, so that helps, but you actually recall that sensation immediately, and then you can learn from it. And that's something it's not very easy to do in testing, in a way, because a lot of time, by the time you've done the road twice, you've learned it, and you don't make this mistake that you would on the first pass of a rally, for example. So it's like a live feedback loop, if you like, so that the progress comes faster, because you're adapting as you go along. And Jason did really well that day, and the times by the end of the day were within a handful of seconds of the leaders, which was where he wants to be. And then he's kind of off on his own for a few events now, and see how he gets on.
Well, can I just ask, Matt, is it difficult for you to be given that live feedback and then to revert back to the exact note in terms of what's coming next? Anthony will know, having navigated for 3 or 4 decades, that you hardly lift your head as a navigator. So I'd imagine there's a great deal of difficulty in that.
Yeah, you could say that. It gets a bit busy at times. It's all based on the feel at the time. You don't necessarily need your head up to feel something not quite right. You feel that you've gone into somewhere a bit quick, or a bit too slow, or in the wrong gear, or the braking wasn't quite right. You feel that quite quickly, and generally it'll be something that we've encountered before. So I'll only need to say 1 or 2 words to draw attention to it, and the driver will generally know what mistake they've repeated, or it won't be necessarily something new to them that we haven't discussed before. So I am generally knackered at the end of a day co-driving, because effectively I'm trying to do 2 jobs at once. But I do find it really rewarding when you can have a good stage without giving any feedback, because that generally means everything was, I was feeling the right forces and the right motion in the car that meant I didn't need to comment. And those are the good stages, and it's a good sensation when it all comes together.
It's quite unusual to listen to a driver speaking, an accomplished driver especially, speaking about co-driving in the way that you do, in that most drivers wouldn't sit in the passenger seat of the car to go to the park firma, let alone sit in the bloody rally car. Do you find the transition, would you stay co-driving, or is there much you find a buzz out of driving? I'm only curious in the sense that I've only ever co-driven. I probably have driven most of the cars, but only driven them to get them out of my way, to get at something behind them. I would never have an aspiration to drive. I can hardly drive myself there and drive myself home. So I'd be interested to what your thoughts are. Can you just transition over and on you go again? Or
at the moment, I seem to be able to. I think at the moment, I'm hoping that I'm not done driving. I'm still hoping that there's some program, somewhere that I'm not actively working on anything at the moment. Although there's obviously ambition to do stuff, but I think if I wasn't driving and co-driving for the benefit of customers and as part of the business, I think I would continue to do it. But I don't think I would continue to do it if it wasn't part of a business
Here's a question for you, and
development, if you like.
this question isn't even rehearsed. I just has come into my head, but I'm sure a lot of drivers, especially, will be curious to get your feedback in this. And the question is, obviously, you've been in the Fiesta with Jason. You have obviously been very successful. I was up doing the Ulster with Stuart Biggerstaff last year, and I saw your stage times. What makes the Polo so special? Because it seems to be. I've never been in a Polo. What makes it so special? It just seems to have, when you consider, I suppose, the development has finished on it for the last, 3 years, 2 years?
It's not,
2 years.
I think there was an update just before we started using it, a last engine update, but there's nothing else to come.
What makes it so special? What is it, in your opinion, is it standout characteristic compared to what's out there at the moment?
I think it's the damping, really.
Okay.
I think that's what, again, it's basically what keeps you connected to the road, isn't it? I think the dampers are very simple to get your head round. There's no Irish tar, Euro tar. It's that damper. That's a lot, and it almost doesn't seem to matter what clicks you've got in. It just seems to work. I mean, I tried quite a lot with it, but it was only slightly different feel. Nothing made it significantly faster than it was to start with. I mean, I still love the Fiesta. I drove Jason's Fiesta the other week, and I got in it, and I thought, well, it was great to drive. I haven't done much in the Skoda, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that. But I and look at the Fiesta. It was, Callum was leading. So yes, I think
there just seems to be a lot of people trying to get their hands on Polos.
Yeah.
It just seems to be.
I think that might be my fault.
Yeah, well, it probably is. Yeah.
Honestly, it's the Polo's a great car, but I don't think it's night and day. I think it's probably slightly easier to drive, but I don't think there's an out and out performance advantage really. I just got on well with it, and I think a lot of it comes down to how much effort you put into everything else.
Preparation, I suppose. Yeah. Johnny Kelly spoke about that in our preview show. The preparation is 4 times what the rally is. It's the preparation is absolutely phenomenal. We were even talking a bit the last day about, getting your mind free and getting your head in a space where you can just concentrate totally on it. And it's not easy done. No. Yeah, that's interesting feedback now, because a lot of people in it, certainly the guys that I would be with, and other guys will say, God, what is that Polo like? And we've had a few of them up testing and that, and they just seem very well balanced. They seem very nimble.
Very balanced,
Very balanced, yeah. The balance is.
I think you get a good feel for it. I mean, maybe the feel in the Fiesta takes a little bit more learning.
Yeah.
But I don't think, the reason we went for a Polo wasn't car based. It was purely budget. We had a sponsor with the trade parts supplier for VW, and that made up the difference in the budget that we needed. And obviously, that couldn't go on a Fiesta. So it was a purely financial, circumstantial reason that we went to the Polo, and it just seemed to work. And
it would be interesting with the new Skoda R5 as to what technology will be carried over, if any, from that Polo.
Yeah, maybe. I know the damper on the Polo was the World Car damper that it finished with in 2016. So
wow, right.
That the development that would have gone into that wouldn't have been shy, would it? So
absolutely not. Yeah.
I remember some of the jumps on Mull, some of the bumps and the jumps and the sequences of bumps together. You almost couldn't upset it if you tried. I kept going faster and faster over this bump, and it was almost laughing at me, just saying, "Come on, give me more, give me more." It was just, it was bottoming out, but the chassis never moved. It was phenomenal, really.
Interesting.
Matt, can I ask then? Obviously, we have some indication or idea as to why you're not actually doing the Tarmac Championship. I know it's a complex issue, but as much as you can tell us why and how, or what can we do to maybe avoid situations like that happening again, that doesn't happen to someone else?
I think I got off fairly lightly, to be honest. Can you see me, or is that screen gone?
It's I can hear you. The screen has
No, I can hear
frozen
you.
for a moment.
It does do this sometimes.
Yeah, we can hear you anyway. So
Okay.
go ahead.
No, I think the intention was that, or the assumption was, I had a pot of money myself that I would have spent to go and do the rally on the promise of the funds coming back afterwards. I think that's what was the intention. I'm not sure really why, but I was, promised the world, and there was lots of things coming and lots of conversations, and every time a proposed deadline was reached, something was supposedly sorted, but then there was something else. Then when that was sorted, oh, well, we're just waiting for this. And it just kept going on and on. And I smelt a rat fairly early on, to be honest. But at the time, I had nothing else. I had no other lifeline, no other, potential sponsors. And of course, there's loads of people that I speak to that genuinely try and help. And, we have sponsorship conversations almost daily. And when they don't bear fruit, that's fine. Everybody's had a genuine go at helping. That happens. And I've got no problem with that. But this was a fraudulent make-believe story, really. And it at the time it came, it was very difficult because I had nothing else. And to have pinned all my hopes on that and to see it disappear almost, because I made a phone call in the end to somebody who they told me not to mention their name to. And I thought, well, why have they said that? And in the end, I just picked up the phone. I said a couple of words, and it was quite clear that I'd had the same treatment that this other person had had, and it just all came crashing down around me. And I just thought, do you know what? I've given 110% to everything for the last 18 years now, and it's come to this, that somebody's sort of trying to fool me into spending my own money, that I may have saved. Fortunately, I don't have any, so it was quite simple that we weren't going. And it is just difficult that, even after the success last year and the 3 times champion thing, and, that there was nothing on the horizon at all, was difficult to take. And, the whole thing knocked me for 6, really. And that's probably why I was able to go to Cork in the capacity I did and not be that worried, because the stress of certainly the last 3 or 4 years to keep it all going and keep the show on the road, because it's not far off a one-man band. There's not a big team of people around me doing all the work. It's quite clear that if I'm not active and chasing something, nothing is going to happen. So it's just one of those things, really. But I think the thing to think about for people that do get approached is, how genuine is it? Do your research? Look at the names that they mention, the companies they mention, and there's things like Companies House and all these things you can look at to see how genuine these people are. And it's just a shame they're out there.
And Matt, the thing that strikes me is, you're obviously a very intelligent person, but if someone was unfortunate enough to maybe not be as clued in as you, then this could have drastic circumstances.
Yeah, there was the potential that I'd put the money down to run the car if I'd had it, and oh yeah, we'll put all the branding all over it, this, that, and the other, and oh sorry, you may have won the rally, but we've got but the money hasn't come through. And that was basically what I thought was going to happen. But I was fortunate that I didn't have that lump to put down. But I just don't know. I think you just got to make sure the money's in the bank before. You don't walk out of Tesco's with your baguette without paying for it, do you? So why should the sponsor get the coverage without paying for that first? I think that's probably the easiest way to go about it. But then motorsport's not all like that, is it? A lot of it's promises, handshakes, and this, that, and the other, and generally that works. But on this occasion, it was quite clear early on to me that things weren't quite what they seemed, and I was careful quite early on. But
yeah, it's mad that something like that can happen, I suppose, Matt. Really, and the disappointing thing, like you said, I think that it's probably the most disappointing thing that's ever happened to you. in rallying, right? And your intentions this year, just for the listeners and viewers out there, you were going to have a right good stab at this Irish Tarmac Championship, I think, were you, by all accounts?
That was the only thing I was trying to do. I'm not pursuing British now. I've not jumped from trying to do the Irish to trying to do the British. There's no current intention to do that. Not that I wouldn't do it, but the time and effort and money to do it on top of everything else that I've got going on is too much for me to do on my own. So, to try and do it properly would need a lot more energy than I've got available. But the Irish was certainly the target and the only thing I had to set my sights on doing. But I think the time between Ulster finishing and the new Irish Tarmac season starting was 2 months, 2 and a bit, maybe three a push, and Christmas and everything in the middle, and the come down after last year was quite big. It took a long time to sort of settle down after all that, again with the stress of things and the way it all panned out. But no, I was absolutely set on trying to do it. Just unfortunately with the timescale and the budget involved, it never really got started. I had absolutely nothing on the table towards any of it after a couple of months of fairly hard work. But it was difficult, and it's not me for six really. It's the energy took a dive very quickly. Not that the enthusiasm for driving's gone at all, but just to try and gather all that up and have another go on my own was quite tricky.
That's the one advantage of being in Clonakilty for the weekend. If you're feeling any way down at all, it was certainly a great town. It was certainly a great town to give you a lift. I'm sure a few beverages on Friday and Saturday night would give a lift to anybody. So
I don't really drink, but it was certainly, I really enjoyed it, and I love coming to all the events. I'm coming over next week for 2 days working, and then I'm over for the circuit working, and there's the visits. I think I need to find a flat or something somewhere. So,
I have a caravan here, handy enough money now. I'm sure we could do something.
We'll do a deal on the caravan. Yeah.
The only thing is the hire car you need to get it with a tow bar, maybe. But...
Yeah. As long as the caravan's a Swift or one of the associated brands, that'll be okay.
Yes, yeah. I'd say we're on the mark there. All right.
Yeah. Matt, can I just ask before we let you go on? You've been very, very good with your time. If the budget comes for a spin on one round of the championship this year, is that something that interests you? And obviously, it goes without saying, we would love to have you competing in next year's championship. Not that our pity and sympathy is going to mean anything to you in terms of what happened to you this year, but we're being genuine and sincere. We would love to see you have a right good go at the whole championship next year. But would we see you maybe in a round or two before the year is out?
I'd love to do one, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be bothered which one either. I know, everybody talks about Donegal, but at the end of the day, I've not done many of them. So to do something new is basically what I'm looking to do. And that was the main challenge of doing the championship. But I'd love to do one if I can make something happen. And I think, to be honest, the support that I had for the idea, if everybody that sent a message was worth £1, I'd have been there. The support, was huge, and the enthusiasm was huge. Lots of, well-known Irish drivers, co-drivers were messages of support. And, again, over in Clonakilty, there was lots of support for me just being there doing what I was doing. It was great. And, I really appreciate all that. And it would be great to come over there and actually...
Maybe the likes of the Cork 20, which has moved forward this year. It's on the August bank holiday weekend. It would be handy. Fly into Cork. You're in the city.
Yeah.
Always a lovely rally as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, again, I wouldn't shy away from doing it in any of the cars either. I'm quite open to the challenge of driving anything. That's part of what I've been through the whole time of being in a rally car, is driving something different at short notice, no testing, all the rest of it, and being able to adapt quite quickly to that process. But yeah. Never say never, and I'm always perhaps when I've got a little bit more settled, I'm moving house and things at the minute as well, so that's all a bit hectic, and once the energy starts to restore and I go to a few more rallies without a car, I'll probably start getting frustrated enough to get back on the bandwagon somehow. But I've got interesting event this weekend coming up in North Wales with a Fiat that I've been working with for a few years now. So the 131 bar. So we're going for a skid on there. And
oh wow, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. We've got a test tomorrow morning, so hopefully we've sorted some of the things out that prevented us from doing the Malcolm Wilson last minute. So I'm looking forward to that.
Is the idea to take the Abarth out for us an event somewhere, or?
Yeah, we're doing Rally North Wales, second round of the British Historics this weekend. So that'd be a good
that'd be interesting. It'd be nice to hear. I know we campaigned with Owen Murphy and Cork that we done last week in a sunbeam there for a few years.
Remember.
There's great crack at the historics. Anybody should do it. It is some crack.
Yeah.
And like as the years now go on, it's getting more competitive.
Yeah.
And you see the likes of the legacies now are historic cars. Hard to believe, like the legacy, and it won't be long before the Impreza was going to be a historic car now as well. So.
Owen was doing the historics the last time I actually did an historic rally in 2014. So.
All right. It's it's great fun, and it's super competitive. Like
it is.
Matt, if there's any justice in the world at all, we'll see you in Ireland before the year's out competing, whether it's in historics or modifieds or overall categories, R5s, whatever. It would be great to see you in action, and if not, we really hope we see you next year. Look, you've been very good with your time. Thanks for joining us here live on the Irish Rally podcast this evening. All right,
no problem. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
Matt.
Thank you very much,
Matt Edwards. Great. Yeah, great conversation. Really.
Yeah, I've never met that chap before. Now, it's he'd be my polar opposite. He's a very gentle, soft-spoken chap, isn't he?
You said it. No comment.
Sure. Look, everyone would be thinking it anyway. I wouldn't worry about that. But nice chap. Now he's you can see he's hurt from what happened to him before the Galway International. It is really, you can see
it's fairly obvious.
You can see by his body language that that's what happened to him was awful. Actually, we never actually said, for the people who didn't know what happened. I suppose we should have said this first. Literally, he was, and someone correct me if I'm wrong here, he was promised a sponsorship package. He had an entry in for the Galway International. He was seeded number 2 or 3 or something. And it turned out the whole thing was bogus. There was no money. There was no anything.
No, that's right.
Kevin actually was pretty much involved at the time. So with the club, was that kind of the be all and end all of it, was it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, exactly. The entry never was gone into, just waiting on things that happened that never happened. And I mean, to be fair, he did a huge amount of work in the background to get himself to that point. And we gave him as much time as he needed, within reason. And it just didn't work out for him. It's a shame for all concerned. Obviously, at a personal level for Matt, but obviously for Irish rallying fans and organisers as well.
Yeah, it's a sad reflection on society, really, isn't it? That somebody would do that to another human being. It's if you're not going to sponsor and you're not going to sit down and do the deal, well, just don't do it. Don't
string somebody along for 2 to 3, 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks long, and not giving them answers and just messing them around.
Yeah, not a nice thing. But sure, maybe look, if only one person picks up on this tonight, and these guys can be rooted out and stop it from happening to somebody else. Look, we'll have achieved something on this podcast tonight. So
yeah.
Well, look, we've a couple of more guests to get to. At the outset of the program, I told Anthony Sullivan he'd be on about 10 or 15 minutes after Matt Edwards. It's about 40 minutes into the program. Tom Scanlon is on standby as well, but we'll bring in Anthony O'Sullivan. How are we getting on?
All right, gentlemen. How are things?
Good, thanks. Good.
Good.
We were just talking about historic, so it was a nice little segue. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful car, nice result, and an enjoyable day, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable weekend. Sure. Neil Williams' car it's spot on. The detail on it, the prep that goes into it, everything is absolutely A1. So yeah, we go well. We did a lot of preparation for West Cork. Neil wanted to do very well in the event. So yeah, we started recce on Thursday fairly early, did our couple of loops, got a good feel. The weather we knew was going to be good, so we made a note accordingly. Friday was the same. Everything was looking good. So we went out Saturday morning. I think our kind of aim really was to hit the stages very hard on Saturday and try and lay down a marker, I suppose. Myself and Neil spoke about, Alan Ring behind us in the M3, obviously a fabulous car. And with Alan's pace in Killarney, and maybe Mac Dade as well, they were going to be our two main competitors, I suppose. After the first stage, we were after taking 20 odd seconds out of Alan, and about 10-15 seconds out of Mac Dade. So that laid the marker down. The next 2 or 3 stages we did the same, and I think at the end of Saturday we were about a minute thereabouts ahead. So we did a very enjoyable Saturday. So you were talking to Matt a while ago about how competitive things are, and Anthony, you touched on it as well. You've done a lot of historic rallying with Owen. It is as competitive as the modifieds.
Absolutely.
If you look at Neil's times, he's setting times. He's beating class 13s. He's knocking on the door at class 14s, as you were as well, Anthony, when you were in the Sunbeam. It ain't slow.
I'm actually looking at it here on the sheets, and your times were well within inside the top 20 of the international.
Yeah. And that is some going for a historic car. So we have to do a lot of preparation for the notes, because we have to carry an awful amount of speed through the corners, because we're probably maybe 100 horsepower down on some of the 13s and 14s, the amount of prep that goes into our notes is crazy. Friday night, even Saturday night, I was still looking at videos, still looking at notes, trying to get cleaner lines through, telling Neil where to go faster, where to back off, because the end of the stages were quite gravelly, especially Ballinascarty. The last 2K that was there was just pebbles everywhere. That's where you throw it away. But these kind of modern historic cars, if you want to call them that, they're serious going them, absolutely serious going them, it's very enjoyable. So we're happy to come away with the win at my local event. So I know the area fairly well. Feel very comfortable calling notes in West Cork, compared to other events in the country. Miles Gap and stuff can be a bit daunting for anybody, I think. And definitely when you're not local there, I think the local guys definitely have the edge on lads coming over from Wales and lads coming from other counties and stuff. And you saw that last December, end of November, start of December, whenever the rally was. All the local guys done very, very, very well. You see that in the modified as well this week. The Rob Duggans and all them, I don't think they felt at home, whereas they do very well in Killarney. So we always kind of do well in West Cork. Neil done very well there, a few years ago when he was running modifieds as well. So he knows that area fairly well. So very, very enjoyable. And of course, Anthony touched on it a while ago. I was only talking to some of the lads over the weekend. The injection of money that rally brings to Clonakilty is just phenomenal. Everybody wants that rally to happen. There's very few objections. Everybody is on board with it. All the businesses, the GRT, the whole lot. Everybody loves to see that rally coming into town, and it's the start of the tourism season around here. So it's a great event. Yeah, we love it.
You can see yourself even when you go up the street at night. The chippers are full, the pubs are full, the hotels are full. There's a great atmosphere on the street.
The lads in them are full as well.
Pardon?
The lads in them are full as well.
What I say, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, an observation I had there on that. It's like Anthony. You could see that there's no so historics anymore. There just isn't. I was on the start line of first corner of Sam's Cross, and the sound, like I said this, I think to maybe one of you guys, that the sound of the BDA is taken off the start line. I mean, there were like young lads ready to get going. They're waiting all day to get out onto the stage, and you could just hear the revving from the start line down to the first corner was just incredible. It put a shiver down your back. It was absolutely brilliant, and the pace and the colour and the driving ability, like it's just fantastic. It was as good as anything to watch, and well worth waiting around for. And even better again that we started a full field there. Like it was 25 good historic cars there.
How many
Absolutely.
cars
Yeah.
started the event, actually?
There was 185 started altogether, 25 historic and 160 main field even. The max that you could started on those two categories. We actually
Did everybody get going, or was there a few people left?
we actually had one late entrant. Chris O'Callaghan was in after the seeded list, but again there was room for him, and we had one historic on reserve, which is Fergus O'Mara, but Fergus switched into the main field, and he was basically the last entry. So everyone that wanted to run got a run, which is great. You're not leaving anyone on the sideline then.
So to quote the old army adage, nobody got left behind.
Nobody got left behind. Yeah, 185 cars between those two categories is fantastic. And I suppose just again, I suppose to go off topic slightly, again the usual shout out to marshals as well, because that was a long day. Okay, you're not doing 3x3 like you're doing in Galway, but with the tight schedule, maybe of the first two stages in particular, and you know about this, marshals didn't get a chance probably to stand down between runs. As a spectator out there, I suppose I saw the other side of it is that the stage was live when people were arriving 10 minutes before the first car would normally be due, and the car 150 was still going around, which meant that it actually made the marshal's job easier because the stage was live and people weren't inclined to walk down the road or do anything else. That was the one advantage, but it just made it probably a longer day for the marshals, and again credit for it because it was cold out there Saturday.
I suppose you'd have to give a shout out to the man who started off life, and I leave Kevin explain this, what I'm going to say. I think we should give a shout out to the man who started off most of his life sitting on a toilet bowl and ended up, they're smiling because you know what I'm on about, but he I think he did a sterling job organising. He was the chief marshal, of course, Bones O'Connor. You can tell the audience about the toilet bowl, what that is about.
Can I tell it? Bones could probably tell it better than anyone.
We should get him on for one of our, maybe for the Cork 20, we might bring him on. It would be fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was just where he was working on the. I can't think why the toilet bowl was there, but there was a room for the coffins upstairs, and it was just, as he said himself, a disconnected toilet bowl, just in case there was any doubt about what he was doing or anything like that. But he just said it was just happened to be I think it was a new one or something in the corner.
Was it the West Cork he was running? It was the West Cork.
It was the West Cork. Shannon's lip. Yeah.
They were Undertakers.
The Undertakers. There was coffins in the room as well, and he was sitting on a toilet bowl. Yeah.
And he's radio
back in 1984 or something like that, 83, 84. Yeah, I think Bones would probably tell that story a lot better and probably embellish it a little bit better too. But yeah,
he's a brilliant storyteller. He's a great way of
what he did, to be fair, it's not a nice, as anyone knows, it's not an easy job to do, and especially with COVID and everything else, it's not an easy job to do to try and get marshals in for an event. But as Bones put out all the stops and
to be fair to marshals, and yes, we always thank marshals and it's great and so on and so forth. But I think when you look at the price of fuel, the way it's gone very expensive, everything in the supermarket has gone expensive. Marshals are out quite a lot financially now compared to what they were 2 years ago. So there's, I think there's great credit. There was always great credit due to them, but now there is the extra adage of it. It's costing them to come out, and they're still coming out. And I think that's unique in this sport anyway, that somebody would do that to assist others. It shows you that the sport is still very healthy, and as you said, the dedication to the thing. And they've done a fantastic job. You don't get to see a lot in the cars, as Anthony will tell you. You probably watch it on the video footage afterwards, but we certainly didn't see anyone in the wrong places. There's no one coming in our line of sight. But
definitely.
And I think I saw that. Yeah, and I think actually I did notice that this year. And again, it's probably down to the scheduling in particular, maybe, but I did notice that because the stage was already live. Marshall didn't have the difficulty of dealing with people walking down the stage or walking up the stage, whatever that might normally happen for the second run. They just came in, went into position. That was it. And to be honest, as I saw it, they were probably as well behaved and well marshalled as I've seen it. To be honest.
And something that was pointed out to me yesterday by another COC, a friend of mine. The rally was running 3/4 of an hour late. I noticed my namesake realized. Did you realize the rally was running 3/4 of an hour late?
Only because of the Sportify app, Anthony.
I didn't. It was pointed out to me. Do you know the rally was 100 I said, I hadn't a clue. I suppose the stages are good. We went to the start of the stage and we were out chatting and catching up with people who hadn't seen for years. Where we were, we had Gary Kieran entertaining us. He was the funniest man I ever come upon and the most positive man. I just to see him, I wouldn't know the chap that well. He was a great character. His axle was about to blow up going into the last stage. And he reckoned he had a fix for it, and he opened the door of the car, brought out a can of Red Bull, drank the Red Bull. She says it's good to go now. He lasted 500 yards and it blew up. I thought, and he was all smiles. He really enjoyed. Yeah, he was a fun guy, and it's to show the camaraderie within the sport. And some of his friends started slagging him, and I said, I certainly wouldn't know him that well. Before he got going for the last stage, he just left a shout out, "Hi lads, I need to be pushed, with a fine stern voice." And I said, Jesus, he didn't even say please. Within 2 seconds, it must be 30 boys pushing him. They all slagging him, and there's great sport. And
Gary's probably one of the characters that you don't see enough of in rallying anymore. It's just
no, absolutely.
Like even
four attempts we made to push the car, as in we've pushed it forward 50 yards, it didn't start. We had to push it back, push it forward 3 or 4 times. So much so that we got so tired. Another bunch of a group of 6 or 8 people arrived up from further back the field. I see Keith Moriarty and a few others, and Sam Moffat arrived on, and they started pushing us. We were exhausted from pushing the bloody thing, and eventually it went. But it's lovely to see all that. And I suppose when you're doing all those things and you don't realize the rally's running 40 minutes late, I absolutely had no idea.
I see it like that again because there were so many cars there, and we saw a few retirements, which is amazing for the for the speed of the stages. I'd say Anthony, you probably notices maybe a little bit more. Anthony, and some of you probably notices a bit more on your pair of stages at the end. There was a bit more probably machines parked up than anything else would have seen in the first part, because the second half of the day was where it really hit.
Yeah, there was. I think the pace after lunch picked up. I think guys were probably a bit more, trying to get you. They were used to the stages in the morning, so I think the speed was after picking up. But very small touches, nothing major really to write home about.
One thing about West Cork, and a lot of people say, look, it's just quicker than Donegal, but one of the great advantages I find of West Cork, if you're unfortunate, and don't get me wrong, there is a few boys with damaged cars, and and such as it, but for the most part, there is so much grip on the stages that even when it goes wrong, you scrub off so much speed before you actually hit something. And all the serious items were protected with bales. There were protection bales on them.
Well, I suppose one thing as well, that every accident that happened in the rally, the small ones, cars stuck in ditches and stuff, the information at the start line, Anthony, was very helpful. Every car that was on the stage, we knew the location before we even went into the stage, so I was able to mark it.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, same as that.
Yeah. So the information coming back from the marshals to the start line was very impressive in West Cork, I have to say.
I had two things that something new to me in West Cork. One was we came upon Cathal McCourt and accident.
Yes.
And Sean Moynihan, I should say, sorry. And the tracker red flagged. I had never heard it red flag on a stage before. We've heard it go off in bits and pieces for others, but I'd never actually been in a car where the stage was red flagged. And I was amazed at the noise of it. You couldn't hear this thing. Like, we were on full revs going through ring, and next thing this noise went off, like, and I just looked up and I could see red lights flashing on this, and I just says, "Don't cut the whole thing." And we just slowed down to a slow speed, and we rounded 3 corners, and here was a marshal with due diligence, and he's stopping the whole thing. But like, the tracker worked an absolute treat. So I spoke with Greg McCarthy, and I was curious to see the tracking system. So because one of the services was quite long on Sunday, I got invited up. But if anybody ever gets in their lifetime to go up and see this thing in operation, you had extremely smart guys up there. You had Greg was doing was the decision maker from the club's perspective. You had Ita Doonan, who we all know from the forestry. She's dealing. She's the person who gets the signal out to shut everybody down. And she coordinating live with guys in the owners of the product. And you had Tom Walsh and Joe Corcoran in Sligo. And it was like an operating theatre, total silence. It was almost sterile. How they left someone like me in there, that you really weren't allowed to speak at all once you got in there, only whispering, which I found rather difficult for 40 minutes. But it was an eye opener, and we saw. And whilst I was there, an incident happened. And to be fair to Joe Corcoran, I think they mentioned that if someone raises their hand, they want total silence. The hand went up, and I think Mr. Walsh, maybe, I might have the people wrong. He was ringing them, they were able to clue in. They could see where the accident was. They were able to ring a marshal who was 100 meters away to give them a visual report. The other man was monitoring the next car coming. They were able to speak to ETA to red flag the next car, and they kept red flagging them and stopping them until they figured out what was wrong, until the marshal reported back. It was amazing to watch it. It was maybe sometime in the future we'll set up a TV camera or something in there, so to just give people, I suppose it's like the Formula One when they bring you into the control room or where it all happens. But I certainly got my eyes open. Now I had an added interest to go in there because I'm doing what Greg did in the Burr Rally, and I just wanted to get a feel for it. But yeah, I'll certainly be learning quite a lot, which was very, very interesting and worked very, very well. So
I think the rally radio in general, lads, works extremely well. I always wondered, actually, is Mary actually Mary, or is that the code name? But that girl on the rally radio is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Mary Fitzgerald is actually a local lady here from Limerick, Palace Kenry village here. Mary.
So tuned in, but controls everything so well, right? Because we have that radio. We're tuned into that when we're out doing a bit of marshalling. Derek is yoked up to it or whatever, right? And it's just so clear, even to relay on the information to the spectators, that if you know there's a blockage and it's been blocked for some time and the stage is now, if it's not running again or whatever, that you can translate that across. And, if there was, just say, an emergency, the stage is live, nobody should be going anywhere. But if there was, God forbid, an emergency and somebody needed to get across, then that the stage is stopped. And there is a safe opportunity to get someone to where they need to get to. Only in extraordinary circumstances, of course.
Even in that tracking room, actually, Mary, they're live with Mary. They're speaking to her as well. She's part of it. Actually, just a comment I passed, I just got a message on my phone. I'm sure most people know him, Terry in SVS, who looks after the tracking. I'll just read out what he said. We plan to do a behind-the-scenes video in the track and control room at some stage.
That's good. It'd be great to get that insight.
That's going to be very interesting when they do that, because it was all quiet and there was silence. It's only when there was an incident you went, wow, this is something to get at.
Yeah. Anthony O'Sullivan, well done again. Thanks for jumping on. With Tom Scanlon on standby, so we may bring him in. So thanks again, Anthony. Tom Scanlon should be there. Tom, are you with us?
Evening. How are we all?
Flying it in yourself?
Sure. Getting better now, the voice coming back.
Yeah. James landed in it this evening.
He did. Again, he's good at that.
Yeah. Listen, no different to Anthony O'Sullivan. Congratulations. It was wow. Like that's all I can say. How many stages did you do with no second gear?
So when we were back out, so it was the second last stage on Saturday at the start line. We had first gear, and when we went to pull second, we had nothing. So from that on, then it was like that for the rest of the weekend. Yeah,
that's incredible. Like,
yeah, it's only when it was gone you actually realise how much you use it. When it's there, you don't appreciate it.
Yeah, because I was actually I was paying really close attention to, obviously, some of the HM production streams came from the start line, and you can tell there's a gear missing, but the transition to get to first to third and then up into fourth, you know what I mean? It was actually surprising at how little it seemed like you missed it in terms of how it sounded. But obviously, in the physical sense, it's a huge thing to be without. And coming over here, but I suppose especially.
There was, and anyone who competed knows themselves. There was a few hairpins up hills as well, so it was quite challenging. But fair play to James. He done well. He handled it well, to be fair to him.
Because the pace, in fairness, Tom, was absolutely extraordinary. Like the location that we actually marshalled on Saturday was just before location 8 on Ardfield, just before you come into the village. At the Tree Bell Chicane is where we were. So the thing I was looking at, two things struck me, right? So firstly, the difference in braking point. And I appreciate that different cars have better brakes and stuff like that. But there's a good 30 yards of a difference between the tyre marks in some cases. And the line that the different drivers was taking through the Tree Bell Chicane. And I think you were fairly dead on straight. Like, it's like as if there was no base there at all, to be honest. So, yeah, like to go and bring that sort of pace to it and maintain it while guys are absolutely breathing down your neck, hammering it over as well. I think that's one of the most remarkable drives I've ever seen anyway from any driver and co-driver across any category.
I know, in fairness, it was very, very exciting. It was definitely no moment to hang around anyhow. There was plenty of pressure going on by everybody, so they made it very good. But in fair play to the team, we put it all together for the lads for the weekend. They done a fantastic job. Emmett, Shane and John done a great job to keep the car going. And actually there was another service crew there jumped in and helped out as well. So fair play and thanks to everyone who done that for us.
Do you know what was gas, right? Just talking about the driving lines. Some lads, you swear they had an Isuzu and a knife for Williams with the line they were taking it out. Like, you swear they were going to sweep everything along with them. But yeah, look, as I said in general, with the Darien, like, haven't seen it up close or whatever. It reminds me of Fred Flintstone a little bit. Like, it feels like if you're going to put your foot to the clutch or to the brake or the accelerator, you're almost scraping the ground, and your arse cheek's no different. Like, you are so low to the ground, like.
Yeah, it's a very, very low car, yeah. Even getting in over can be quite challenging. So, yeah, no, but it is. It was my first time with James in it, so it was a new experience for me to learn the car. And, it was very good now. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
No, it looked an amazing piece of kit. We were running late on the road on Sunday.
Yes.
You were starting in front of us for a couple of occasions there. And to
That's right,
see it go off the start line, we went, wow. So it pulled away. I assume you pulled away in first gear, and I'm sure you had gears back at this stage, but when you pulled second gears, the wheels kept spinning. I remember Owen and I looked at each other, Jesus, this isn't going to get traction at all. Like, and he literally had to take the leg off the throttle to stop the wheels from spinning and ease it down gently and try and get it.
That was on Sunday, was it?
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah. So he was off the line in first gear, and then he had to go straight to third. And we're still able to spin the wheels in third gear. Like.
So that was third we were seeing.
Third gear, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no second at that stage.
And you could see the whole back of it vibrating. I went, Jesus, man, this is a fabulous feat of engineering. It's you mentioned getting in and out of it. Alone, I would say, embarrassingly, with a very good friend of mine from Monaghan, who shall remain nameless, but I co-drive with him from time to time. But some years ago, there was a Triton launch on above in Kevin Barrett had it on a minute, and Ian Barrett brought his Darien down. But when the whole thing was over, anyway, my Monaghan colleague and I says, "Jesus, we'll have a go at getting into this thing." So he got in fine. He's a short and fit chap. So I says, "I'll have a go." I'll tell you, if I was still there 4 years later, I went in forwards, I went in backwards. I went in backwards at one stage and he closed the drive. I went in through the driver's door at one stage. He closed the door behind me to see could I turn inside in it. I couldn't turn inside in it. I couldn't get into the car and twist myself in such a way that we could close the two doors. We tried so many ways. I said, here, there's a limit. I'm 16 and a half stone. I'm 6 foot tall. It wasn't just going to happen. Now, Ian Barrett is every bit as tall as I, but a lot
he's
slimmer.
He's a tall man, yeah.
And he's a slim, but to see him bounce in and out of it, I went, wow.
Yeah.
So I guess what? I won't be in the Darien anytime soon unless it comes with a can opener. But fabulous piece of engineering.
Yeah. And Tom, obviously, I know your voice is under a bit of pressure from calling notes. I'm sure the celebrations weren't too shabby either, were they?
No, we had a few for medicinal purposes, try and help the throat, soothe it.
A few hot whiskies, is it?
We won't say.
Go man. Listen, Tom, thanks a million. I know you had great difficulty in trying to get this bloody link sorted or whatever. But
with a few technical issues again there tonight.
I just see congratulations up for you there, Tom, from one of your I think fellow countryman Gary Nolan. Congratulations, Tom and James, driver of the rally, to put in that performance with all the bother. It just came up there now, like on the screen.
Well done, John. Tom. I'd say you'll be kept now, Tom. I'd say, will you?
Sorry.
You'll be kept now, I'd say, will you, by James? There's no going back now.
No, you wouldn't know what you want with that fella. He doesn't say a whole lot. One rally at a time.
As someone said before, he's a man of few words, but he uses them often.
Yes.
That sums him up pretty good.
Tom, thanks a million. We'll chat to you again, all right?
Thanks a million,
Tom. Cheers. Good luck.
Bye.
It's just I just can't get my head around that, to do all those stages or whatever by going first to third and to lose so little time and just be
Oh, it is.
Scary. Imagine if he had the full wacky gears for the whole weekend. What he'd be doing to the R5 cars? He'd have been under threat yourselves, Anthony. I'd say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's like he's up there with the top 5 times at the international. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
But
he'd
to be
be
fair to
there.
James, though, James has always been talented. I remember him in the Nova, and I remember him doing the national championship briefly in an Evo. And
Yes.
obviously he's more known in the Darien. But I mean, James is quick all over. And anywhere he's ever rallied, he's been quick and competitive. He's a guy who could travel.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, absolutely. He's,
So, Kev, I suppose, will we go through our class winners just while we have, I'm conscious of time, of course. We tried to aim for 45 minutes to an hour. We're at an hour and 5, but look, it's been
I
good
sent
fun,
you a
so-
WhatsApp there too, by the way, just if you're trying to. Oh, you sent it back to me, did you?
I
All
did.
right, okay.
That's it, with interest. Go on, Kev.
So where do you want to start? Do you want to start international or national, or where do you want to go?
Wherever you feel most comfortable.
Wherever I feel I want to go. Okay. Well, look, we'll go backwards this time. We'll start with the juniors. Jason Farrell and Ryan McHugh had a serious battle. Jason led for probably most of it, and then Ryan suddenly kind of took all the time back on the penultimate stage and went into a slight lead. And then Jason got the hammer down, and I know it's just we took 10.9 seconds off, or 8 seconds off Ryan in the last stage, and won it by 10.1. So it just shows that the margins that were there. But great result. And Robbie O'Hanlon, actually, who has, I believe, lives somewhere near Greg, up around Ryland somewhere, did Galway, was wasn't, we'd say, in the top 5 in Galway, but third overall here and drove really well. It was just over a minute behind the 2 top guys, so a great drive there in that one. In the historics, obviously, we know about Neil and Anthony, and but they had a good battle with Tommy McDonough and Gary Gallagher and Dennis Cronin and Helen O'Sullivan, and of course, obviously, there was also a good battle. I don't actually know what happened mechanically, but I know that Michael McDade and Declan Casey were keeping Tommy and Gary honest for a lot of that event. But Neil was in a class of his own all the way through. There was just no catching him, So the other category classes, Edward Flavin in the Lancia Fulvia, 50 years old, I think that car is now somewhere close to it, I'd say. Maurice Meskel had a serious drive as well. He was 6th overall, but he won H2 in the historics. Mark Bullett's got a fabulous car and driving it really, really hard. Barry Richards from Wales won class historic category 3, and Alan Ringdon won the Appendix K in the BMW. Alan got much quicker as the weekend went on, and ended up 4th overall. Obviously, it takes a bit of time to get used to those cars again, and of course he'd been out in the Legacy more recently, so it's probably a bit of a change for him. Go into the, let's see here now, we'll go into the class 9, I suppose, which is the small class, the 1300 class. And like Kevin Flanagan was just incredible in the Mini. I don't know if anyone's seen any footage. There was something on Facebook yesterday about not putting a scratch on it, and I told him that there was several occasions I thought he put a lot more than a scratch on it, but he said his car control is something else, and like he won the class by it's just like 4 minutes, I think, from Noel McCarthy. So a great drive. Class 10 was Patsy McDonough and Lee Kavanagh, but I actually don't know what happened to Michael P. Keller, but Michael was actually leading that going up to the last stage or second last stage. But that was a fairly good battle. But Michael didn't finish, unfortunately. So Patsy won that class. Class 11F was husband and wife team, Seamus and Aoife Ronan. Again, a very, very big class win, 4.5 minutes. Some serious driving, but like they have a young family and haven't been out as often maybe as they would have liked over the last couple of years. But it's always very, very quick. 27th overall actually as well in the national. So. Great drive. 11R was Bob Moran, and Bob has been coming to West Cork since '99 on and off. A lot of West Cork's done, and very, very comfortable class winner in 11R. Didn't like 5 minutes. Very, very experienced driver, Bob from Killarney. Class 12 was Declan Campbell, 26th overall. Good drive with Raymond O'Neill. It was about a minute and a half between the two at the end. Plenty sideways for both of them over the weekend. Class 13. It was a good battle for a long time between Sam Moffat and Jason Black, but then unfortunately Jason hit trouble on the second day with fuel issues, and Sam went on to take the 2-litre win, class 13. I love seeing his reaction after Sam's cross, actually, when he was interviewed by Killian Duffy, just saying that just so awesome. He said, just brilliant. He didn't feel like he wanted to go back into an R5 at that particular moment in time. He just felt the stage and everything he wanted. He just loved it, and it was just pure pleasure for him when he came off that stage. Just a fast stage, but a technical and tough stage, as you know yourself, Anthony. Sam's cross isn't for the faint-hearted. So,
it's very difficult to call notes on that stage, actually. Yeah, we already discussed it today. Yeah.
Barry Mead, actually, would you believe, it's hard to imagine the Cork man. Barry actually has never done West Cork in the main field. He did the junior 16 years ago. This is his first time doing West Cork. Had experienced local co-driver Eamon Hayes with him. They finished 10th overall and second in class 13. And J.R. McDade now, who's been to West Cork a couple of times from Donegal, James McDade's son, very, very good drive, 15th overall, third in class 13. Another excellent drive, actually, kind of went under the radar a little bit in class 14, Simon Reid, finishing fourth overall in that. Excellent rally, actually, really, really good drive. Chris Armstrong was another new man to West Cork. Slow starting off, probably taken aback by the sheer pace of what was going on, but set some really, really good times on the second day and sixth overall and second in class 14. And Colin Byrne, Corkman, obviously had some troubles on Saturday morning. The car kept cutting out, and a few times I see in the different junctions. Third overall in class 14, very good drive. Seventh overall in the national. So Andy Heekin won and Sarah McFadden won the class 15 in their Subaru Impreza. And I suppose it's a sign of the times. Vince McSweeney would always have been a top contender in the national. Eighth overall, but Vincent has been out for several years, and I suppose to me, even the Evo now is going to be getting left behind by these Mad Mark 2s, and still eighth overall in the one class 20. And class 22 is correct me if I'm wrong in this, Anthony, is for guys driving homologated cars but don't have an international license.
Yes.
So here we had a brother and sister pairing of Michael and Sinead Kenny. Michael living in the US, Sinead living in Singapore. Children of Pat Kenny from Clonlara and Clare, who would have done the rally.
Yeah, their father's probably Clare.
Yeah, so it's brilliant. Like Sinead keeps saying she loves the rally, and they're a really good drive. They were 19th overall, and they won class 14. And second, that was Rory McGarity and Mark McGarity. And local driver Peter Cahan and George Shannon were third in that class. And so that's the rundown on the national side of the house. I suppose obviously the overall national was to James Stafford, Rob Duggan, who I thought, a fantastic drive considering he was up against Darian Power. Came under a bit of pressure, right, from Gary Kiernan on the second day, but I think he would have just about had enough on him anyway to hold on for second place. And Daniel McKinnon third, and Daniel obviously started probably a bit cautiously because of his Galway incident. But his first time in West Cork, and he said he'd be back. He loved it, absolutely loved everything about it. So it's great to see, and good battle in the class 24, the right-hand drive R5 category. Jason McSweeney led that early on, and Kevin Kelleher went up a bank. I think at one stage the power steering went, but Kevin came back to win that category from Jason. Not much between them, just over a minute. There was two others in that. Simon Michael retired, unfortunately, after an accident, and Sarah Purcell was having a fantastic drive and was chasing the other two guys all the way, but she was unfortunately retired early in the second day, but was going extremely well. At one stage was only something like 25 seconds behind Jason when he was leading it. So it's a really good pace shown there among those. Class RC4, the small R2 cars, Eamon Kelly was just a class of his own. I mean, he was 8 minutes quicker than anybody else. Ryan Caldwell was second. Now, I suppose Jason Dixon was a bit closer, but he retired on the Sunday. Ryan survived what you might call a slow roll on Saturday morning. I think it was the first roll I ever caught in camera, but amazingly, they opened over this roof and they put back by the marshals. They didn't lose any massive time, and they actually weren't even caught by the next car. So they took second in that class, and James Boland was third in that class with John McKay. Another revelation was William Crichton and Liam Regan actually in the class 3, the Rally 3 Fiesta. William's talented, there's no question, and that car was being driven to his limits as far as I could see anyway, and done a mark on it at the end, and really, really, really impressive performance. And he's going a long way, and he's
very unusual sounding car, actually.
It is, yeah. It sounds, I don't know how you describe it, but it's distinctive.
Definitely. Charade came to mind, funnily enough.
Yeah, except a lot faster. And William's talented, and it's interesting to see that he's easing his way up through the classes. There's no jumping into an R5. I'm sure he will eventually, and he'll be really good and competitive on it. But it's an interesting car. It's nice to see him make his debut in Ireland, and fantastic result, 7th overall. And as I said, he wasn't sparing us. I mean, he wasn't that far behind yourself, Anthony. Actually, look at the times here, less than a minute behind on yourself. Yeah, yourselves were 6th, second, third in class RC2. Good battle with David Guest, local battle, I suppose, and Daniel Cronin. The three Cork drivers, 4th, 5th, and 6th, in the first 3 in the RC2 category. And then what can you say about the top end? I mean, brief observation, Josh again just got another result. At one stage looked like he mightn't do it. Callum was very unfortunate. The gearbox breaking when it did. We'll never know if he would have pulled that back that time again on on a ring. Marion, of course, it reminds of Desi McCarthy back in the day, second all the time, but he has to be getting a win sometime soon. He deserves one. He's really pushing hard. Johnny Greer, very unfortunate. Johnny, again, deserved a fantastic result. He was very unlucky. Just something so small to put him out at the very end. To me, actually, one of the drives of the rally because, even though he's been doing the Northern Ireland Championship and Ulster last year, but probably hasn't really had much seat time with some of the other guys for that Lincoln event. Alistair, unfortunate, probably the fastest driver out there on the Sunday, but probably the 2 spins he had or 2 overshoots he had in Clogach on Sunday morning probably just messed up his chances. And it's a measure of their class that I heard after the event again, like they did in 2019, stayed till the very end of prize giving and took off up the road. They're just gentlemen. They're a class act, and I really hope that that they have a really good year and get back on the pace. I just think there's maybe not having any great luck at the moment, but hopefully it'll come good from in the next event or two. And the other person, of course, that was unfortunate was Cavan McCourt. Cavan has a good drive as well, and there's some really good driving. Somebody has to drop out at that pace. Somebody's always going to drop out, and there was a 3 obviously on the Sunday, but it's fantastic, just fantastic competition, and I think that's the real big
But if you
thing
watch
I took from that weekend.
Any of those 3, I suppose Callum has won, but you see the likes of Johnny Greer and Cahan McCourt, and we said it on the preview show. We certainly said it about Cahan, and it does also apply to Johnny. Their day it's almost there.
I would think Johnny would be a serious challenger for the Easter stages. I can't see him not being in the top, challenging for that lead because
I agree, yeah.
near home, yeah.
And Cahan, both of them, they're
both of them, and Cahan, yeah. Cahan, I think, just needs to find more consistency. I think he's blindingly quick, but then seems to kind of lose a little bit in the following stage. If he got that consistency in there, he'd be up there to Western. There's no question.
Speaking of consistency,
again, they're putting in the preparation, they're putting in the seat time, and they will get there, of course, absolutely.
I think Marion Evans has to be complimented for his consistency.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
In the 2 events so far, he's putting himself in positions to win rallies by just being consistent. I would say if you go down to the timesheets, I know you're the fastest time or 2, but he's consistently putting in really good times to keep him in that position.
And if you look at the pattern as well, Kevin, is that, as noticed here, I can't think which stage it was now. He was unfortunate after pulling back the gap that he had an overshoot as well, I think, on Ballinascarty. But if you look at it, there's always one stage in his loop that he's blindingly quick on. He obviously puts that huge work into that, and the same in Galway as well with the Black Road. Again, like that, if he can put another stage up to that level of his best stage, he probably will win a round very, very soon. He seems to have one special stage to pull out at every event. If that could be up to 2, I'd say he wouldn't be far away. And I think once he starts winning,
just one more observation, because I know you're wanting to jump in, Anthony, there as well, right? But just in terms of Callum, on that location as well, on the first run through Ardfield, again, just to remind viewers, listeners, just before location 8. Kev, you would have noticed this as well because you're only up the road. Yeah. There was a minute interval, wasn't there, between Callum and Josh, I think. Whatever it happened.
Yeah, the first stage, yeah.
I actually had to stopwatch running just to see how we were fixed or whatever. And I think it was a minute and 27 seconds later he came, and I thought to myself, he's 3 seconds quicker than anyone else. And to actually claw in 3 seconds, just coming to location 8, I thought was mad. And obviously he turned out, I think he was fastest on the stage forever. But there's a couple of pictures, lads, of his lines. And I think one of them was going around Dunmore House and another one over a crest. Like, there is probably an inch between him and the wall. Like, I'd say you wouldn't get a sheet of A4 paper, length of it down between that and the wall. It was just incredible. I've never seen anything like it. It's just cutting to where he was prepared to actually make those gains, And he's just unfortunate that, it's mad when you kind of look at those pictures and see how hard he was pushing, and here he's after retiring, you would probably assume he has made an error. Obviously, it wasn't the case. It was mechanical. He was going to be very hard stopped.
But it's one of the difference he has compared to others is his lines. Rallying now is a bit like go-karting or Formula 1. It's all about the easiest, quickest, smoothest line. It's all about smoothness, no sideways, no spinning wheels, none of that. As smooth as you can get it. And that's where your time is smooth. When you come down into a braking to a chicane, brake late, brake once. It's easy to talk about it. It's easy for me to talk about it when I can't drive, but that's the difference. Those guys is they're so confident because of their seat time that they'll come in with 100 or maybe 85 meters to go at full speed, and they'll stand up on that brake pedal just the once. and leave off just before the junction, just drive around it. They make it look so effortless because of the seat time and the preparation is done. And Eamon said last week, they put the preparation in, and they get a great result out of it. But it's not easy done. You have to make a lot of commitments in life before you get to start driving like that, certainly.
Any last observations, lads? We're coming near the end of our tether here.
No, looking forward to the circuit. That's the next one out now, so I'm going to see how we get on.
Yeah,
same here now. As I said, one thing I see Eamon saying there, Eamon Finn was saying that about somebody in the ditches. Actually, it was the biggest crowd I've seen in West Cork for a lot of years, I'd say. I don't know, Anthony, how you saw it from the inside of the rally car, if you saw anything, but
would you see nothing at all? Actually, weird enough because
you're too busy kind of going to the next corner.
We more than see out over the top of the dashboard.
Yeah, my Edwards did see it though, I'd say. That's the difference. My Edwards did see it though, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Just, I suppose, one other observation very quickly. John Dalton, I just want to mention John Dalton. I'd be good friends with John and Gwynfor, and I suppose it's a shame that he had to pull out because apparently he just didn't feel well. He just said it towards the end of the
season. What it was? He always has an exceptional turn of speed. Did he have to pull out the illness?
He did. He just said something to do with motion sickness. He just didn't feel well in the car, and he just wanted. And then the reason he went out Sunday was to get a cut over ring, and of course that got curtailed. And I think they went home. But like, as John at 56 years of age, like, is still so competitive. He just loves it. He just really
great character.
And himself and Gwynfor are two of the gentlemen as well. Like, they're two really nice guys, and love coming back. Just having the fun.
I even see Gwyndaf Evans. I don't know, did Gwyndaf Senior come over this year? Did he?
He did. He was doing it.
I was hoping.
75 years of age, Anthony.
Is he 75?
Yeah.
Well, that's weird. That you just brought something to my attention. He celebrated his 50th and slept in the room that I'm just sitting in here now. He slept in this room, my spare room, and we had his 50th birthday party here in the house when him and I did the Circuit of Munster. So that's obviously 25
years ago, yeah. And as competitive as you'll meet, I mean, the into the ring stage on Sunday morning, he was catching a car and he came on full guns on the fella in front of him with the lights blazing and the whole lot, the horn going, and the rage was up on him. So but another gentleman just loves it.
Into that stage. But his son, Wayne, really competitive.
Adrian as well. Adrian is there too. But I think they kind of had the measure of him now eventually. But it's not. But for long, even the last couple of West Corks, he was quicker than the two of them again. But this year now, I think Wayne had the edge on him. I think Adrian might have had as well. But don't you worry, it wasn't for the one to try and win that start anyway. That's for sure.
As I often called him, he's the real Gwyndaf Evans.
The real Gwyndaf Evans, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Look, lads, we've had a lot of comments that have come in, and I know you've been keeping your eye on them, right? I'm not going to get to all of them, so to be fair to everyone, I'm not going to read out any of them. But thanks to everyone. You know who we are. We're just have a string of it here, but we are short on time. A couple of things just to say before we finish up. Thanks to our sponsors, treerock.ie and GRT Hire, for coming on board this evening. Thanks to everyone for viewing, listening. Kevin, Anthony, other Anthony, Matt Edwards, Tom Scanlon. Thanks a million. Kevin Kelleher must be still on that bank that you were talking about that you got stuck on, because he was supposed
I don't know. I text Kevin Kelleher, obviously was supposed to be on us this evening, and we tried to get the link going. And he's obviously having an issue, so we'll get him.
Maybe next time. And look, we're going to chat to James Stafford as well, and he sends his apologies. He got caught up on work, but nice to have a chat with Tom nonetheless.
Nice, maybe we'll get it recorded and we'll play it before the next show, maybe, or something. So.
Yeah, no, it has to. We'll work out something. Just to say as well, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description of the live stream. We brought in that just probably in the Galway preview, actually. Yeah, before Galway. It's still there. It's not compulsory, but if you want to show your appreciation, Anthony likes a latte. Kevin O'Driscoll, I think, drinks a cappuccino. And I
think if my memory serves me right, I see others are trying to copy your great idea of Buy Me a Coffee. I think I saw somebody during the week starting off a similar type of thing.
Maybe, yeah. But you're looking, you know what?
I'll stick to the tea.
When you're born in a religion, you don't want to die a copy, do you? But yeah, that's the way it is. We're happy to lead the way with our content here anyway, and I think we do it to a pretty good standard. I think the figures show that in terms of listeners and viewers. So look, thanks a million again to you guys. Thanks to everyone for
thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Anthony.
A few people, sorry, just to put it out there, I think we might have mentioned it last week. They have asked about the forestry and the national championship. We'd be delighted to cover it. if an external sponsor wants to come on board and look after that, there's absolutely no problem. But there's a lot of time and preparation that goes into this. We're spending hours upon hours and trying to get this right, lining up guests, sharing it afterwards. So and we do it to professional standards. So that's the thinking behind it. Bit of fair play both ways is all. You know what I mean?
And we're not afraid to discuss the issues, eh?
Yeah, let's say if they're fair, that's what they're there to be
Yeah, sure,
talking
look,
about. There's no point in hiding behind them, like. So that's the long and short of it. Lads, thanks again. We'll chat to you
You're very welcome.
Thanks,
there you
Kevin.
go. Kevin O'Driscoll and Anthony Nestor. And again, thanks for tuning in. Really enjoyed it this evening. And we will chat to you again very, very shortly indeed. Until next time, take care.